Yeah. Here we go. She says I shouldn't do this. But I guess I have to because I'm thinking about it. But I'm going to take it very seriously. Because it's a serious matter. I mean, it's easy to joke and it's easy to laugh. But when you're living amidst a people that doesn't understand the meaning of a joke, then you get people going off the wrong way. Look at that. That's a Boddington's. That's why I'm going to be so serious. It's a nice British beer. I was able to get it in China at one point. Oh, it's got a widget in the bottom. There's a little. This glass isn't large enough for this beer, but it's got a little plastic thing called a widget in the bottom of it. And it's supposed to keep it from over foaming, and it does just fine. Speaking of being in England, when I was living there, at one point there was a headline that said the British Parliament was coming down on pub and tavern owners because they were putting too much head on their beer, which meant they were robbing people of their alcohol. If that's the worst of your problems, your country must not be doing too poorly. I'll drink to that. Here it is. I'm not supposed to talk about this. But it's this Luigi character. He's all over the place. Now they caught him. Oh boy. And you don't know whether to be sad or happy for him. He's the next Billy the Kid that everybody just loves somebody. And, you know, like, who's the other guy? There was a guy and a woman, not Bob Dylan, but someone like that. He had his chick, and they would go on the road and rob banks, and everybody loved them. Back in the time of Model Ts and such. Cigarette went out. They caught him, and you wonder whether he wanted to be caught, because, well, he seemed to make it so easy. And you're like, okay, I see you in a McDonald's or something. Do you want me to turn you in? They've only got like $10,000 on you. If you don't want me to turn you in, I won't. $10,000 isn't enough to fix my life, to stand against something that may or not be wrong. Who knows if you're not watching the news? In these days and times, evidently, the law doesn't mean that much to people to begin with. We're entering a new era where people are going to learn to want the law back again. That might be the next step. After everything goes to shit, people will fucking fall in line, just like it says in one, Behold a Pale Horse and things like that. But The interesting thing is I have some sort of connection to this Luigi character. I looked and I could see he had big brown eyes. Girls like big brown eyes. Maybe it's the color. They think he's got large penis. I don't know how it works. I've got blue eyes with brown. Don't tell anybody. It makes it easier for them to look me up. But the idea, who knows why he's doing this? Does he want to be caught? Does he want his message to get out there? That's what it comes down to. And the thing is, there he is. He's about 26 years old or something. They say, if they even got the right guy, because the first time they showed a picture of him, I said, that's a chick. But I realized it's just the angle. It's the same person, I'm guessing, but it looked like two different people to me. And then I see things come up, see two different people. I'm like, no. It's just a different angle. But he was being charming. I know how to be charming. I mean, come on, look at me. I remember once I went to get my motorcycle endorsement in San Jose, and it just started to rain that one day. And I wasn't prepared to do the little circle thing that they had to do. I'm like, ooh, when I got there, I said, I hadn't practiced that. And the woman's like, let's go. And it started to sprinkle. And if it's sprinkling in San Jose, this is bad weather. And the woman's like, oh no, we'll have to wait. We'll have to do it later. And I looked at her and I did my whole charming thing. I don't do this very often. You probably never see it. But I go, oh, I realized all I have to be is charming. It's a gift. It's one that I don't like to abuse, because then people will catch on to it. But I looked at her and I said, well, golly gee. I said, it's raining right now. We're going to have to come back and do it. I was going to pass it today anyway. I said, why don't we just forget about it altogether? I didn't think I was going to pass that test with that circle they had there. How often do you do a circle on a motorcycle? Usually you just wipe out or hit a car and blow over the top of it. These are the experiences I've had. But she said, oh yeah, why bother coming back? And she signed it off and said I passed, so I was charming. And I saw the charm in that guy's eyes at that hostel where he was. He's like, oh gee, baby. And who knows what happened. She's probably the one that won't turn him in. Not saying we were the same person. We are the same person. What I'm saying is there's a brethren that somehow comes through. It's like, is that my brother? Not to say I'd be accepting of it, because you already know how I feel about loyalty and people that make mistakes. You cannot encourage them and support them and allow them to do it again. Ta-da. This guy, we're not the same. From what we see, that he had money, that he turned around behind him, and he was put in smart classes. The thing is, the brethren part, I was put in smart classes as a kid, but I had no idea why they were doing it. I just did what I was told. And so I wasn't smart enough to know that they were trying to tell me I was smart, if that's the case. Whereas he was getting pushed into the smartest things. He went into that saying, I am. smarter than everybody else? Why are they so stupid that they can't make a better person out of me? That's my guess. It's on the same spectrum, but at different ends of it. And I did, you know, I've got military background. Not only that, I was the fastest. I was the fastest enlisted man in 307th Engineer Battalion of the 82nd Airborne Division. I just did things on my own, and it turned out I was faster than everybody. And I have been stepped on in the dark by somebody who thought they saw me, and I said, become the Rock. And they stepped on my back and walked over me and didn't catch me. I know I can be sneaky. The thing that makes me say we're not the same person, we might be brethren, it was because at about the age of 32, my mother had a brain tumor. Oh no. And her doctor, who retired, when he retired from the Mayo Clinic with a board of doctors that were studying my mother's case, when he retired and that whole study was done, he told her, do not ever let anybody try to operate on you. He said, if you do, you'll either die or there's a 70% chance you'll never be the same again. There's a 70% chance you'll die, and if you don't, you'll never be the same again. This guy that retired from Mayo Clinic with a board of doctors that were looking at her specific brain tumor. I said to her once, I said, it's not the tumor. And she said, that she wasn't fucked up until they fucking operated on her at one of these other university hospitals. My mother was looking into other possibilities, like gamma treatment was coming out, and they're like they could do something. And this doctor at another university hospital, he said, I can do that. I do that all day, every day. And it was before she ever even talked to me about it. She agreed to it. I was studying psychology and biopsychology and things like that in the university at the time. I could have been a better person to talk to than whoever she talked to. And she decided to go through with the surgery. And this guy went in and he fucked her up. He fucked her up. She came out of there never the same again. And I went back to California, and then I came back for her follow-up visit, where she became the monster she never wanted to be. She was the Queen of Johannesburg. She was the prettiest girl in town. She was my mother. And she is one of the few people. I mean, look at me talk right now. I know I say things that are awful, but it's because I see them in you. The truth is, I'm probably one of the nicest guys you ever meet. And as long as you don't screw me around like they did her, we could be best friends forever. Just don't fuck with me. She went through this thing. I went back for her follow-up interview with the doctor, and before the doctor came into the office, you know how they like to make you wait. I was there with my dad and my mom and me. And we were in the office, and my dad sat down in the doctor's chair while my mother's sitting over in the chair all fucked up, like they left her. And I looked at my dad, and you know, one of the few times he followed my advice. I said, you can't do that. I said, this is not the time for this. While we're waiting for this fucker to walk in and give us a fucking debriefing about what we already know happened, because we've read the fucking files. My dad, he got up out of the doctor's chair and he sat over in the chair where he was supposed to be. And like a minute later, the doctor walks in, sits down in his chair, and he's sitting there. He says, so, and he said to my mother, how are you doing? And she looked at him and she told him back what he had told her when he scared her into a brain surgery that fucked her up and made her a monster the way she didn't want to be. He looked at her and he said, well, she said, you said this wouldn't happen to me. And he said, well, I was wrong. And I just said, you motherfucker. You were wrong? You were so full of yourself that you didn't factor in the possibility of being wrong, and you fucked someone up for the rest of their lives? I guess the pay's good. I was very upset. I said nothing. But he saw what I was thinking. And I went back to California. And I thought, you motherfucker. And I thought how easy it would be to catch him drinking somewhere and make him understand how wrong he was. And I knew nobody would ever know it was me. But then I caught myself thinking, I was never close to getting on a plane, but I think about things a while before I do them. And at some point I thought, if that guy's that confident and he's still doing it at that age, he probably is good at what he does. He probably is helping more people than he hurts. And I backed off. I said, I'm not, no. But you see, that's the difference. I was able to justify this. It's a human trait. Justification. Try and find it in any other animal. Try to find anything you say is humane in any other animal. You'll never be able to cross them. Justification is a human trait. And if you're going to be humane in the best way possible, you need to be able to understand what it is you're justifying. I justified this. I said, this guy, he's helping more people than he hurts. And I let it go. I forgave him. And I haven't thought about it for years and years and years until this guy, Luigi, goes after somebody that's in charge of health. I can't say whether that guy that was in charge of United Care Health was helping more people than he hurt. It's more than likely that he is more like the Fun with Dick and Jane guy that they just made a boss so that they could have an underling fall.